Anyone with a finger on the pulse of popular music knows what a whirlwind Taylor Swift has been on lately. After completing her seemingly endless Eras tour and embarking on a nearly 6-month social media hiatus beyond the infrequent story post, the only thing on every Swiftie's mind was the looming confusion about when Reputation, Taylor's version, would finally be released. Fan theory after fan theory snowballed until, on May 30th, 2025, everything came to a grinding halt. Swift posted a series of photos on social media that showed her surrounded by and proudly holding the original versions of Taylor Swift, Fearless, Speak Now, Red, 1989, and Reputation with the caption, You Belong With Me. Green heart, yellow heart, purple heart, red heart, black heart. In an exciting turn of events, Swift announced that she purchased all of her music outright thanks to the success of her tour. Every demo, original version, and master belongs to her like it should have from the beginning. This announcement also sheds light on the Reputation purgatory Swifties have been living in for over 4 years. As it turns out, Swift hasn't even re-recorded a quarter of it. On a positive note, Swift's finished re-recording her debut album and loves how it sounds, so hopefully we can look forward to that and some Reputation vault tracks in the future. Now, it's time to jump back in time and fall back in love with the original versions of her songs that Swifties haven't heard in years. 1989, Taylor's version, was the re-recording that reached the highest heights for me originally. Now, if you asked me, I'd say that Fearless, Taylor's version, was obviously her best re-recording. The original was one that was never at the very top or the very bottom of my Swift album ranking. I've always loved certain songs more than others, but the vault tracks on the re-recorded version completely won me over. New Romantics was one of those songs that I've always loved. The gravitational pull that each chorus makes me feel never gets old, and neither do the lyrics. 'Cause baby, I could build a castle / out of all the bricks they threw at me. When I first listened to the re-recording, I danced along as usual. But upon further inspection, I've discovered that it doesn't contain the same magic as the original. The chorus sinks beneath the weight of the instrumental, making her vocals that deserve to stand out fade into the background. I didn't know how much I needed the original back into my life until now. While I'm a firm believer that Fearless, Taylor's version, massively improved upon the original album, I can't deny the nostalgic attachment that remains tied to certain songs. The new version of You Belong With Me even includes one of my favorite alterations in all of her re-recordings where, in the second verse, she sings, "Hey, what you doing with a girl like that?" in her chest voice rather than flipping it up into her falsetto. Even then, no one can deny the appeal of Swift's younger, less polished voice singing such an angsty song about wondering why your crush doesn't see all the good that stands right in front of them. It feels more at home on the original album, which is the case with many of her oldest songs that fans grew up listening to. The singles on Red, Taylor's version, were immediately lacking for me. These were never my favorites on the original album, but they became frequent skips on the re-recording. Something about the production either placed too much emphasis on one aspect of the instrumental or on her vocals, making either one stand out like a sore thumb. The original version of We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together is one that I didn't expect to be so relieved to have back in my life. Suddenly, I'm 12 years old again, and this is the most fun song I've ever heard. It goes to show just how little some of her original versions needed to be changed, something that many fans are finding out while rediscovering their old favorites. She re-recorded a fantastic version of State of Grace, acoustic, for Red, Taylor's version, so what made her leave the Speak Now acoustic versions out? For one, they're impeccable. She's proven herself capable of performing these songs acoustically during the Eras tour's surprise song section, but the original version of Haunted, acoustic version, is something that was bottled up and preserved in its original, devastating form. I still wonder why it was left out of the re-recordings, but I can't complain when I'm able to appreciate it once again. The inclusion of Safe and Sound on this list is the most indulgent entry for me. As someone who grew up listening to Swift and losing myself in the Hunger Games trilogy, her penning not one but two songs on the soundtrack for the first movie adaptation was like a completely personal dream come true. Of the two, Eyes Open was always my favorite, but even I can admit that the re-recording is somehow even more magical. Safe and Sound, featuring the Civil Wars, is a haunting acoustic lullaby undoubtedly from the perspective of Katniss Everdeen lulling her sister, Primrose, to sleep. Looking back, it's one of her only songs that hinted at what Swift would prove herself capable of in Folklore and Evermore. Her voice sounds perfectly pure in the original, capturing the youth of the character she's embodying and the children at the heart of this dystopian world. The re-recording is beautiful, but the original holds a special place in my heart that makes me elated to have it back in my life.